kids podcast.
You can go slow.
A kids podcast about.
Hello, my name is Ari, and I'm a producer for podcasts here at A Kids Company About. We're on a mission to empower a generation of kids through diverse storytelling. And we're doing this through podcasts like the one you're listening to right now. Check out all our books, podcasts, and classes by visiting akidscode.com.
What is divorce?
Divorce is when two people who are married decide that they don't want to be married anymore.
Divorce is when two people who are married sign an agreement to break their marriage.
So divorce is when two people who are married decide that they would like to live apart. And to do that, they go and get the court's permission, and that process is called divorce.
Welcome to A Kid's Book About, the podcast. I'm Matthew, your host. The voices you heard at the top of our show were from Vinny, Anya, and Ashley. Each week we talk about the big things going on in your world with a different author from our Kids Book About series.
Hi, my name is Ashley Simpo, and I am the author of A Kid's Book About Divorce. I am a writer. I'm a mom to an 8-year-old, and I am an editor living in New York City.
Today we're having a conversation about divorce, but Ashley and I were also thinking,
what about the kids who aren't going through divorce?
This show is for everybody, so that means that no matter what your family looks like today, yesterday, or in the future, Ashley and I were thinking about you as we recorded this episode.
I think about exactly the reason that my son dragged me into the playroom that day in my sister's house, which is that one of his best friends, aka his cousin, she might have had questions that are very natural for kids to ask and that you don't know how to respond to it. A simple question like, how come your dad isn't here? Or why is your mom always picking you up? And those are totally normal, natural questions, especially for kids to ask. But I think that there does have to be an awareness for all children that families look different. They come in different sizes and shapes. And I think for kids who have both parents at home, it's still important for them to know how to talk to their cousin who's going through a divorce or their classmate who's going through a divorce. Just to create a more accepting society, we have to have conversations with our kids that maybe don't reflect what we're going through, but they reflect what our neighbors are going through.
I'm not sure what experience you have with divorce in your life, but I do know that divorce affects everyone differently and for different reasons. I also know that some people feel comfortable talking about the divorce experience in their life and others do not. Keeping this in mind is going to help all of us a lot as we move forward. Here's Ashley sharing her experience with divorce.
So I was married in 2011, and in 2014, my then husband and I decided that we were going to get a divorce. We have a son whose name is Orion, and at the time he was just about almost 3 years old when we began to talk about it. And it has been quite a journey of learning how to do it and how to talk about it with each other and to other people.
There are as many reasons why people get married as there are for why people get divorced.
You know, getting married is very much like a lot of decisions that we make. We make the decisions with the information that we have at the moment. And sometimes the information that we have changes and our decisions become decisions that we want to change. But most people get married because they love the person that they're marrying.
And love is complicated, but you already know this, don't you? The things or the people we love don't always stay the things or the people we love. Outfits, haircuts, pets, friends. Sometimes feelings change, and that's not our choice, but rather it's our truth.
People get divorced for so many different reasons. It's very personal, but some of the reasons can be that two people don't make each other happy anymore. Perhaps they are no longer getting along, and that can cause a lot of strife if you're not getting along with the person that you live with.
Strife is anger or disagreement.
One of the people in the marriage may want to be with someone else. That happens sometimes as well. Sometimes couples argue too much about a certain thing, maybe money or their careers. And also, couples sometimes are not nice to each other. And it can be a situation that is either dangerous for them or their kids. So in those types of situations, it's really important to protect ourselves and our space. And that's another reason why couples may choose to divorce.
When I think about divorce, it makes me feel concerned for the people involved. I feel like thinking about divorce makes my whole body quiet down to a whisper. What about you? How do you feel about divorce? Is there a grown-up listening nearby? Ask them how they feel about it after you share your own thoughts.
When I think about divorce, it's always a bad thought. If I were to think that my parents were going to get divorced, I would be scared and sad. It would be a mix of a lot of emotions because there would be probably a lot going on. But overall, probably pretty sad because I don't want my family to have to break.
It makes me feel sad.
Divorce makes me feel a little icky. I think it's not an easy subject. It's not an easy thing to go through. And so it's something that initially when I think of, I feel kind of sad.
While we hold space for those emotions, here's Ashley with thoughts on how to process what's going on.
I think it's really important to know, first and foremost, that you are the most important person in the room. And it is okay to ask questions. And if you feel comfortable asking mom or dad those questions, then that's good. If there's another adult in your life that you feel comfortable asking, then ask them. And it's okay to share what your feelings are. Things will get sorted out. And in the very beginning, it's just important to be really honest about how you feel.
We'll be back in a minute with Ashley and the answer to one of the questions you submitted right after this quick break.
A Kids Class About is an all-new streaming platform we've created for tweens and teens. We've got classes on discovering your passion, being a musician, living with authenticity, and even one on being an entrepreneur. These classes are focused on careers, life skills, and big ideas. Visit akidsco.com and sign up for a free 14-day trial.
My friends, hello, my name is Ben Tartine, and I am the head camp counselor at Camp Adventure, a summer camp podcast. Camp Adventure is a first-of-its-kind summer camp that you can listen to anywhere, like in the car, under your blanket fort, while you're going for a walk, everywhere. And it's a podcast for everyone. I tell stories about growing up, exploring my backyard, building castles out of chocolate, all kinds of stuff. There's sing-alongs led by the fabulous Hannah Glaver. We host a weekly challenge that you and your friends, neighbors, and grown-ups can all do together. There are games and scavenger hunts and jokes, birdsong calls, learning words in another language together, and just so much great stuff for every single kid out there. I think you're going to enjoy it. New episodes release every Saturday throughout the summer, and you can listen to them anytime, anywhere, and in any order. So go wild. Listen to Camp Adventure wherever podcasts are found.
Adventure, we venture together with courage. We learn and grow strong. We learn from each other. So let's discover and uncover great adventures bright and new.
Welcome back to A Kid's Book About, the podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about divorce, the different ways it can affect members of the family, and the importance of asking questions and sharing your feelings. I feel like there's a question that comes up a lot when a kid learns that their parents are getting a divorce. Is it my fault? Is it because of me?
Absolutely not. Marriage is about the relationship between two people. It's an adult relationship. It has a lot of complexities and ups and downs. Children are never the reason that people are getting divorced. Children have to witness it and see it happen and be a part of what happens afterwards. But you're not the reason for a divorce. My son was not the reason for my divorce. I don't know any adults who got divorced because their kids didn't pick up their toys, or something like that. So that's a big, big, important thing to know. It is not your fault.
A kid's book about divorce began with something Ashley's son said to her after he went to California to stay with family over the summer.
He was very angry with me and he had a lot of questions. And, at the time he was about 6. And he sat me down and pulled me aside and sat me down and said, "I don't understand why you and Daddy are not together anymore." Now, mind you, we had been apart for quite some years, but I realized that when my son was in California with family, he was seeing my sister's family where, they're married, they have 3 kids, they've been together for about 20 years. For the first time in his, now 6-year-old life, he was seeing very up close what his family did not look like. So he had questions. And when he asked me these questions, I wasn't prepared enough because this is a smart kid. And me saying, well, we just didn't get along. And, that wasn't enough for him. He wanted more. So I set out to find resources, something that was very current, that was talking about divorce in a way that would help me relay it to my son. And I couldn't find it. So I started to just write down what I should say to him so that I was prepared for the next conversation that we had. And when we talked, he told me his questions and I wrote those down. And I continued all along to search for some type of resource. And I actually came across another kid's book about on Instagram and found the company and searched on their website and didn't see anything about divorce.
Can you guess what happened next? I bet you can. Ashley was looking for a book on divorce, but nothing she found felt like the right fit. And then she ended up at a kid's book about. Here's Ashley.
And so I just messaged them and said, "Hey, I'm a divorcee with a little kiddo and he has tons of questions and I'm just starting to figure out how to answer them. And this is something I'm sure tons of kids want to talk about. Is this something that you guys are doing?" And my question was really like, "Are you planning on doing this?" And Jelani was like, "No, but you can do it." So
that would be Jelani Memory, author of a kid's book about racism. He's our guest on episode 1, if the name sounds familiar, or if you haven't listened yet.
We ended up talking about it and just finding a lot of common ground. Jelani and I are both children of divorce and divorcees. So you have the perspective of knowing what it's like on the other side and growing up and finding out that it's not the end of the world, actually, and that there is beauty and love beyond your parents separating. And also for ourselves, knowing as adults what that feels like and why you make that choice. So it was a wonderful, just very natural kind of journey.
Today, our listener question comes from Anya in Maryland.
I guess one question I have about divorce is if my parents or one of my friends' parents were getting divorced, I would probably question who I would live with or who they would live with and how would it all work out in the end.
That's such a good question, Anya. And I want to say I was 12 years old when my parents got divorced. And I remember all of the different questions that I had about what was going to happen. When it comes to who you live with, that's a decision that you make with your parents. A lot of times it has to do with who is most equipped to manage the kids during the day and, through the week. But if there's a situation where a child wants to live with one parent or the other for whatever reason, maybe it's closer to grandma or school, or that's the parent they get along with the most, that's perfectly fine. And it's okay to say that. It's important to know that whatever is best for the entire family usually starts with what's best for the kids. It's important to express what you feel and what you need. And just know that ultimately the decision will be kind of in the hands of your parents and the people that are helping them get through their divorce process.
How did you feel after your parents chose to divorce when you were 12? And how long did you feel that way, if you can remember? Like, are you okay now? Did you get to a point where you were okay?
I am okay now. And, I'm a big age. I'm in my 30s. But at the time, for me, it was a lot of change. When my parents divorced, I lived with my mother and my grandmother, and we moved. And so it was a new neighborhood. It was a new school, a new room, a lot of new things. And my parents deciding to divorce was not as big of a surprise to me. I saw them arguing a lot. I saw them fighting. So when it was explained to me by my mother that this was going to allow both of them to have more peaceful lives, I was able to accept it because I saw what it looked like. And so it was just a process of me learning to adapt to the new changes. And that took a little bit of time, but I made friends, and I realized that there were a lot of kids in my class whose parents had gone or were going through divorce. I was not by far a rare story. And so that was kind of what helped me move past it, is realizing that divorce is part of life and part of the reality of just people loving each other and having relationships. And it doesn't make you any worse off than anyone. It doesn't make you, weird. It's just part of growing up, is learning that that's part of love.
Thank you to Ashley Simpo, author of A Kid's Book About Divorce, for joining us today. And thanks to our two very special kid voices for helping make this episode what it is.
My name is Vinny. I'm 9 years old, and I live in Maryland. My favorite thing is drawing.
Hi, my name is Anya, and I am 12 years old, and I live in the state of Maryland. My favorite hobby to do is sketching and drawing. My favorite board game is Monopoly, and my favorite video game I love to play is Minecraft. I really love listening to Broadway musicals, and my top 3 favorites are Dear Evan Hansen, Beetlejuice the Musical, and Hamilton.
Thanks, Vinny. Thanks, Anya. If you want to be on a future episode of A Kid's Book About, the podcast, or if you have a question you'd like us to consider, have a grown-up email us at listen@akidspodcastabout.com, and we'll send you the details. A Kid's Book About, the podcast, is written, edited, and produced by me, Matthew Winner, with help from Chad Michael Snavely and the team at Sound On Studios. Our executive producer is Jelani Memory, and this show was brought to you by A Kid's Podcast About. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever podcasts are found. And if you like this episode, consider sharing it with a friend, teacher, or grown-up. Join us next week for a conversation about COVID-19 with A Kid's Book About author Malia Jones. Hi, this is Matthew, and I'm head of podcasts at A Kid's Company About. We hope you enjoyed this show, and we'd love for you to check out our growing library of shows at A Kid's Podcast About. Whether you're looking for storytelling with crafts and activities, fact-finding with experts and enthusiasts, or looking to explore and understand your world better, we have got a podcast for you. Check out the A Kid's Podcast About channel on Apple Podcasts or wherever podcasts are found, or visit akidsco.com.